Settle into this moment. Let your breath slow, long, deliberate, as though urgency itself has dissolved around you. Because here is something the rushing world will never tell you. Time is not a river carrying you forward. It is a flowering of what you already are, the unfolding of a seed that was planted before your first conscious thought. And if you could truly grasp in nature what you are, not what you were told you are, not what circumstances have suggested, you would lay down every weapon of effort and simply rest. You would lean back into the vast, warm intelligence that holds the universe together and trust it to hold you too. There is a belief so deeply embedded in human culture that most people mistake it for truth. It says, struggle is how things get done. It says that without relentless pushing, without grinding, without fighting through resistance, nothing of worth will ever arrive. This belief is ancient, widespread, and almost entirely wrong. Consider the greatest forces in nature: gravity, magnetism, the turning of seasons. None of them force. None of them strain. They operate through an invisible law, silently, inevitably, with a precision no amount of human effort could replicate. Creation has always worked this way. Every cathedral, every invention, every life transformed began not with a clenched fist, but with a quietly held image. The feeling came before the form. The inner reality preceded the outer one, and the receiving happened not through exhaustion, but through a kind of sacred surrender that most people are too restless to discover. Here is what the great teachers across centuries have tried to say in 1,000 different ways. You are not a passenger in this life. You are its author. You are not subject to the world's conditions. The world's conditions are subject to your inner state, your assumptions, your internal conversations, the mental atmosphere you carry without even realizing it. These are the real architects of your experience. Neville Goddard called it the operant power, meaning the conscious force through which all creation flows. Not one of the forces, the force. But the immense irony is that this power operates most purely not when you are exerting it, but when you have learned to trust it enough to be still. Anxiety tightens the channel. Fear narrows the passage. But faith, genuine, rooted, unperformative faith, opens it wide. Relaxation, in this context, is not the act of lying on a sofa watching the ceiling. It is something far more radical. It is a decision to trust the unseen over the seen. It is choosing to give more reality to the state you hold in imagination than to the conditions your senses currently report. When you close your eyes and enter the inner theater of the mind, you are stepping into what Neville called the theater of God, because your imagination is not a human tool. It is a divine faculty itself. It is the place where realities are born before they are birthed. And what you dare to assume there, with feeling, with consistency, with something resembling certainty, that is what must eventually appear in your outer world. Not might appear. Must. It is law. As reliable as the law of gravity, and just as indifferent to whether you believe in it or not. The question that trips most people is this: if I simply imagine and relax, am I not being passive? And the answer is a resounding no. You are being precisely active where it matters most. Even when your body is still, your imagination is always at work. Every moment of your waking life, and much of your sleeping life, you are generating assumptions. You are accepting certain things as real and rejecting others. The question is not whether you are creating. The question is what you are creating when your attention is unsupervised. What do you assume when the conversation goes quiet? What story do you tell yourself about your worth, your prospects, your lovability? Because that quiet, habitual inner monologue is the actual blueprint of your life. Most people are building unconsciously. The invitation here is to build on purpose. Imagine for a moment that you desire wealth. The conventional response is to calculate, to hustle, to monitor every opportunity with anxious vigilance. But the one who knows the law takes a completely different approach. They go within. They sit in silence and construct a feeling of what it is to already have abundance, not as a desperate wish, but as a lived sensory reality. They hear the lightness in their own laughter. They feel the security in their chest that comes with knowing all is well. They imagine conversations where friends notice the change in them, where opportunities arrive without being chased. And they return to this feeling, not once with theatrical intensity, but repeatedly, calmly, until the assumption becomes their most natural inner posture. Then, without forcing, without plotting, the outer world begins its reorganization. People appear, doors open, circumstances shift, not because the person did anything dramatic externally, but because they became, internally, someone for whom abundance was simply true. What makes this difficult for the modern mind is the instruction to ignore present appearances. We have been trained to treat visible facts as the final word on reality, but they are not. The facts you see right now are the echoes of assumptions you held weeks or months ago. They are the harvest of an old planting. They have no bearing whatsoever on what you are planning now. The law of assumption operates entirely in the present, your present inner state, and will just as reliably deliver the fruit of a new assumption as it delivered the fruit of the old one. You are not bound to the evidence. You are only bound to what you choose to accept as real in your inner world. And the moment you change that acceptance, the outer world begins, slowly at first, then with gathering speed, to change too. The sculptor who insists on working with the old clay while dreaming of marble will remain frustrated. The one who simply imagines themselves already holding the marble, already feeling its smoothness, already admiring the finished work. They have engaged a real workshop. There is a beautiful metaphor that clarifies the proper attitude toward the gap between planting and harvest. Think of a woman who knows she is pregnant. She does not spend her days gripped with terror that the child may not come. She does not dig up the process to confirm it is working. She knows, and in that knowing, she moves through her days with a quiet, grounded confidence. She makes space. She prepares. She trusts the intelligence of the process completely. This is the attitude of the true manifester. You have imagined, you have felt, you have assumed. Now trust the intelligence of the universe, which is, in the deepest sense, your own deeper intelligence to handle the process. Your role in the interim is not supervision. It is maintenance of the state. Stay in the feeling. Return to it when you drift. Water the seed with continued assumption, not with anxious checking. Some will object. But nothing has changed yet. And to that, the answer is precise and firm. Everything has changed. The moment you shift your inner assumption, the cause has shifted. The outer world, which is always downstream of the inner, simply is not caught up yet. Think of thunder arriving after lightning. The sound was never delayed because the storm hesitated. It is simply the nature of the distance. What you are experiencing as a time lag in manifestation is the natural interval between the planning of the cause and the emergence of the effect. Your persistence in the state is what closes that gap. Panic, doubt, and frustration do not accelerate the process. They interrupt it. They introduce static into the signal. But calm, steady, returning to the state persistence is like a continuous broadcast on the clearest frequency. The universe cannot fail to receive it. Now here's perhaps the most quietly transformative insight in all of this. There is no one to change but self. Not your boss, not your partner, not the economy or the culture or the stars. Self, because the world is not an independent entity, sending you conditions to react to. It is a mirror, an extraordinarily sophisticated, somewhat time-delayed mirror, reflecting your own concept of yourself back at you. Change the face in the mirror by standing in front of it with a different expression. That is all. If you want to be loved, stop waiting to feel lovable and start assuming you are already adored. If you want success, stop rehearsing the story of your limitations and start dwelling in the feeling of having already succeeded. You are not becoming these things. They already exist as complete realities in the infinite field of what is possible. You are simply adjusting your inner frequency until you resonate with them. You are moving into the room where they already live and setting down your bags. The mind, that marvelous, restless instrument, will resist this. It has been conditioned to trust only what it can measure, only what it can track and verify. It will demand proof before it will allow you to feel. But the entire law operates in the opposite direction. The feeling must come first, and the proof follows. You cannot receive the gift if your hand is already clenched around your worry about not having it. Receptivity requires openness. Openness requires a kind of courage. The courage to feel good before you have reason to. The courage to walk with ease while appearances still suggest struggle. This is not delusion. It is the disciplined use of the most powerful creative faculty you possess. Delusion would be to ignore reality in a way that prevents you from functioning. This is something else entirely. It is choosing which reality to give your primary attention to, the echo of the past or the seed of the future. Consider the nature of vibration. In physics, we know that everything is frequency. Every material form is energy in motion at a particular rate. Your inner state, your dominant emotional tone, your prevailing assumption, is a frequency, and frequencies attract matching frequencies with mathematical precision. A tuning fork struck at a particular note causes every other tuning fork in a room tuned to that note to begin vibrating in sympathy. It does not matter how far away they are. Resonance works regardless. When you stabilize your inner state in the frequency of abundance, health, love, or whatever you desire, you are not wishing for those things. You are becoming the instrument that calls them in, and the universe, which is built on resonance, cannot help but respond. The challenge is that anxiety, doubt, and urgency are also frequencies, and powerful ones. The practice, then, is to become more loyal to the feeling of what you want than to the feeling of what you fear. There is an art in this that goes beyond technique. It is the art of being rather than becoming. The one who is becoming is always one step behind what they want. They are always on the way. But the one who is being, who has stepped fully, inwardly, into the state of the wish fulfilled, has closed the gap entirely. They are no longer moving toward the desire. They are inside it. They speak from it. They rest from it. And their actions, when they arise, are not the frantic actions of someone trying to make something happen. They are the natural, flowing, almost inevitable actions of someone for whom the thing is already done. There is a completely different quality of energy in that kind of action. It is effortless in the deepest sense, not because nothing is done, but because nothing is forced. Look at the architecture of the natural world for confirmation. A river does not argue with the mountain that stands before it. It does not try harder or push more forcefully or map out a strategic assault. It simply flows, following the path of least resistance with unhurried certainty. And over time, sometimes a very long time by human standards, it carves through stone. Presence and persistence accomplish what brute force never could. You carry the same capacity. When you remain consistently, quietly, peacefully in the state of your assumption, you are like that river. You are not fighting the obstacle. You are flowing around and through it with an authority that appearances cannot diminish. The day will come, and it comes for everyone who sincerely practices this. When you look back at the version of yourself that's strained and pushed and worried, and you will feel something close to tenderness for that person, because you will understand, from a vantage of experience, that all of it was unnecessary. Not the action, the anxiety behind the action, the assumption that without the striving, nothing would come. You will see clearly how the real turning points in your life were inner turning points, moments when you quietly shifted what you believed about yourself, and how the outer shifts follow the logic that seemed almost embarrassingly obvious in retrospect. You were not lucky in those moments. You were aligned. And so the invitation is simply this. Begin now to take your inner world as seriously as you take your outer one. Begin to treat your imaginal acts as the actual causes they are. Spend time each day, not enormous amounts, but deliberate, focused time, inhabiting the feeling of your desire fulfilled. Make it sensory. Make it specific. Not a vague hope, but a lived moment. The smell of it, the texture of it, the emotional quality of it. The more real you can make it in imagination, the more powerfully the signal broadcasts. And then release it. Go about your day. Trust the process. Refuse to monitor obsessively. If doubts arise, and they will, especially at first, do not argue with them. Simply return like a gentle shepherd to the state, to the feeling, to the knowing, because ultimately, This is what all of this points toward, a profound shift in identity. You stop being the one who wants, and you become the one who has. You stop inhabiting the consciousness of the seeker, and you step into the consciousness of the receiver. This is not arrogance. Arrogance claims credit for what it does not truly possess. This is something quieter and deeper. It is a recognition that the creative power of the universe lives in you, expresses through you, and responds to you. You are not asking for favors. You are claiming what is already, by the law of your own consciousness, yours. You are not here to earn your desires. You are here to remember that they are already yours. The moment desire arises in you, the corresponding reality exists. The vibrational counterpart of everything you want is already present in the field. Your work is not creation. Creation is finished. Your work is alignment. Your work is to become, inwardly and completely, the person for whom the desired reality is simply their natural state. And the instrument of that alignment is imagination. And the condition in which imagination works most purely is relaxation. And relaxation is the outer sign of an inner certainty. It is the body confirming what the mind has accepted. So breathe. Slow everything down. Let the chase lose its appeal. Let the urgency dissolve. Let the world go on making its noise while you tend to the only garden that matters, the one inside. Plant carefully. Imagine clearly. Feel deeply. Trust completely. And then walk through your days with a quiet, unshakable knowing of someone who carries their answer already inside them, not because you have forced the universe's hand, but because you have finally, beautifully, stopped resisting what was always yours. It is done. It always was. And all that was ever asked of you was to relax enough to receive it.